Hey gamers, it's G from the corner, and welcome to the first video of Pikmin Week here on the channel. Today we're going to be reviewing Pikmin 1, which originally released on the GameCube in 2001, but has recently been re-released on the Nintendo Switch with some visual enhancements. Now, this week, as I mentioned, we're going to be reviewing the first 3 Pikmin games here on the channel. So starting with the first one, where it all began, let's get right into it. So I first played Pikmin 1 about 5 years ago through the Wii Virtual Console. The motion controls I thought were really fun, and I did enjoy the game, but you know, I don't know, it being a fresh concept to me, I've never really played an RTS before, I wasn't able to properly strategize and, you know, beat the game in the end. Although I did replay it on the GameCube about 3 years ago now, and I did beat it that time, which is funny considering that I lauded the motion controls, but lo and behold, having more limited controls, I was able to beat the game. Whatever. I thought the game was pretty fun at the time, and upon revisiting on Switch, same exact feeling. The motion controls have slightly changed a bit to now where you are only able to move the gyro when you are already holding A or B to throw or whistle Pikmin, but aside from that, pretty great version of the game. But yeah, you know what? I should just get into Pikmin, what it is. So Pikmin is a real-time strategy game made by Nintendo that released in 2001. You control the Captain Olimar in this title, and he takes command of several different types of these Pikmin creatures, these little plant-like dudes who come in a few different types, and they can attack enemies, they can create bridges, and most importantly, they can pick up the parts of Captain Olimar's ship that he needs to escape this planet, because the game kicks off with him crash landing on the Pikmin planet, which is presumably some version of Earth or whatever, and he needs to reclaim his ship pieces within 30 days, or else he will die because he cannot breathe oxygen. What a little weirdo. And that 30-day limit isn't just for story reasons. You only have about 30 in-game days to complete it. The way Pikmin works is that you start out in the morning. You have, I want to say, about 15 to 20 minutes. I think it's about 15 minutes, honestly, closer to maybe even 10, to kind of get everything done. You start out, you unload your Pikmin from their onions, as it's called. Yes, the little ships they are carried in are called onions. I'm not sure why. And you run around and you're like, okay, let me go get this ship part. Let me defeat this enemy, this boss, this whatever, you know? That's how the game flow works, and you want to get it all done within the time limit, and you want to make sure that by the end of the day you have all of your Pikmin on you or in their onions. Otherwise they will get eaten, because it is dangerous to explore at night, according to the plot of this game. Very fun gameplay loop, and of course, in this first game, you only have 30 days to get all 30 ship parts, which sounds daunting, but honestly, like, obviously 30 and 30, you do one a day. Also, you don't actually need every ship part to beat the game, only I think about 25 of them you need. And also, you can definitely get more than one a day in some cases, especially if you are a Pikmin pro like myself. As I mentioned earlier, your exploits will lead you to finding multiple different types of Pikmin. In this game, you only have 3. The red Pikmin, who are resistant to fire. The yellow Pikmin, who in this game can be thrown high and can pick up these items called bomb rocks that allow you to blow up indestructible objects. And the blue Pikmin, who are the only ones who can breathe underwater, allowing you to traverse watery areas, which is very important for some of the levels in the game. Overall, I like the simplicity of the first game. You know, it's not as complex as some of the later games with all the Pikmin types they introduced there, but I think super fun. There's strategy. Like, sometimes I'll be in an area and I'll want to take out a bunch of red Pikmin because I know there's fire enemies around. Sometimes I'll want the yellows, but maybe not too many of them, just because I know, you know, I want bomb rocks. Bomb rocks are always such a complex thing in this game. You throw a Pikmin and they drop the bomb rock, but you want to make sure you're not near the bomb rock, otherwise your Pikmin will die. I don't know how many times I've lost a dozen Pikmin on complete accident because a bomb rock accidentally went off. Yeah, the first game can be a bit janky at times. It's not like the end of the world, but it's a little bit janky. But about the game world itself, now like I mentioned earlier, it's supposedly some sort of maybe post-apocalyptic, maybe not Earth, and the environments are all very natural looking. You're the size of like a penny, and you're running around these gardens and forests and caves, and it's so fun just getting to see like the tiniest of weeds towering above you. It's amazing. The areas in the first game, there's basically 3, technically 4 areas, technically 5 areas actually, but really there's 3 major areas: the Forest of Hope, the Forest Navel, and the Distant Spring, and all 3 of them have incredible atmosphere. The Forest of Hope is just a very peaceful, tranquil, first area, kind of forest grassland. The Forest Navel is this cavernous dune area with a big body of water, very twangy sort of music. And the Distant Spring is just absolutely ethereal. It is this pool, this not really, this kind of lake, I guess lake, yeah, that'd be a good way to put it. It's a lake that feels very misty and foggy and mysterious, and the music definitely conveys that. I love the environments of Pikmin. I love the enemies you run into. There's so many weirdos, from Bulborbs to Wollywogs, the little Shearwigs that try and attack your Pikmin all the time, the Dwarf Bullbears, the burrowing Snagrits who will poke out of the ground and try and munch on your Pikmin, the swooping Snitchbugs who will pick them up and chuck them in, forcing you to have to pluck them out of the ground again. It's amazing. I love it. At the end of each day, Olimar will write a little diary entry about his experience on the planet, and it's all cute stuff. Really, the first Pikmin game, it's a simpler strategy game. You only have 3 Pikmin and you only can play as one character. You know, as I'll show in the later games, things get a lot more complex than that. But honestly, it's a very fun, short game, like many games from this time. Well, not many, but like a decent amount of games from this time, especially some early GameCube games I can think of. It's a very short and sweet experience. You can beat the game in about, I want to say, 6 hours on your first time if you know what you're doing. And, you know, it's a bit more loose than the other Pikmin games. There's no definitive bosses in most areas. You kind of just run around and maybe there's a bigger enemy. There might be this guy, this mushroom guy who will, like, turn your Pikmin evil, or a big Spider-Man who will just, like, kind of walk around and you'll have to throw your Pikmin at his little ball in the middle to try and kill him. It's amazing. I genuinely, the first game holds a special place in my heart. It's a fun little experience. I highly recommend it on the Switch, especially. You know, it's easy to come by. It's only 40 bucks there. Whether I recommend it with Pikmin 2, you'll find out on the next video. Hey gamers, it's G from the corner, and welcome back to Pikmin Week here on the channel. And today, we're gonna be talking about Pikmin 2. Yes, Pikmin 2, the great sequel released in 2004. Now, this game kicks off with Olimar returning after successfully escaping the Pikmin planet, only to find out that his company, the Hawkatate Freight, has gone bankrupt. They are in a lot of debt, and he is about to lose his job, but luckily a bottle cap Olimar happened to find that would have been a souvenir for his son is worth like $100. So the president of the company sends Olimar and new employee Louie back to the Pikmin planet to get more treasure and hopefully get them out of debt. Who knows? We'll see what happens. They need to get $10,000 to reclaim their debt. So jumping right into Pikmin 2, it's great. It's a great upgrade on the first game. You have the introduction of, as I mentioned, Louie, who acts as a second captain, allowing you to strategize and plan things out even more than you would have before. Louie is basically just a second Olimar. You can get Olimar going somewhere while Louie is waiting somewhere else for a task to finish. For example, let's say you have a wall that needs to be broken by a bunch of Pikmin. Well, you don't want to just spend your whole time waiting there, but you want to know when it's done, and you want to have somebody there right away. So you leave Louie over there, and then as Olimar, you go get more Pikmin and go do something else. But then, you know, when it's done, you're like, okay, let me gather up these Pikmin and maybe bring them back. It's not like super strategic. You can't do much with it, in this game at least, but it's still all great stuff. And of course, to add to the strategy, there are 2 new types of Pikmin. The purple Pikmin and my personal favorite Pikmin type, the white Pikmin. The purple Pikmin are very strong. They have a ×2 attack buff, and they can crush enemies, but also when they carry items, they work as like 10 times the strength of a regular Pikmin. You need 10 Pikmin to pick up an item? Nah, just give them 1 purple and you're good. They're kind of broken in this game especially, but they are still, they're very useful obviously, and you're not going to have a lot of them for reasons I'll get into momentarily. The white Pikmin are also here, and they are amazing. They're these little guys, they're so small. They have beady red eyes instead of the usual white and black pupils. They are poisonous Pikmin, so they can withstand poison. If they are eaten by enemies, they will actually deplete some health of them. Some enemies will die instantly to eating a white Pikmin, making them very useful to use even despite their lower attack stat. And also, white Pikmin can uncover treasure, which is another thing I will get into momentarily. There will be some that are just hidden underground, and they will be able to sense it out and dig them out for you. They're great. I love the little guys so much. They're so Ooh, they're amazing. The only other real note that I should mention are that yellow Pikmin now no longer can carry bomb rocks because bomb rocks are just not in the game anymore. I mean, I don't really mind. I didn't really care much for them, so it's honestly fine by me. But now yellows have a new property. They are resistant to electricity, which is very useful because electricity instantly kills Pikmin, unlike drowning, which they can be saved from, and fire, which can be put out with the whistle. You do not want to get your Pikmin near anything electrical, that's for sure. But the whites and purples are not as common as the other Pikmin. They do not have their own onion, and you can only find them in Pikmin 2's newest and greatest feature, the caves. In Pikmin 2's areas, you will find these caves that you can dive into. They are procedurally generated areas that all have like a distinct theme and distinct types of enemies, and you go around scouring for treasure, which once again, I will get into in a minute. They're kind of these dungeons in Pikmin, which is kind of neat because usually Pikmin is about exploring a very natural area, trying to find things hidden within the environment, but Pikmin 2 adds this sort of extra layer of exploration to things. You want to go underground into the caves and you want to delve as deep as you can, trying to find all these treasures and then seeing what bosses lie at the end. The purple and white Pikmins don't have their own onions. In fact, they can only be grown down here by tossing regular Pikmin into these flowers that will then turn them into purple and white Pikmins. Pretty alright stuff, honestly. The purple and whites definitely are more useful. They're very practical. You definitely want to have a lot of them, so limiting them I think is very smart, honestly. Very, very smart. But yeah, the caves also have bosses. Each cave has a completely different boss, you know. You'll have some like the Empress Bulblax, who is just this big, obese Bulborb who rolls around all over the place. You'll have, you know, a regular like burrowing Snagrid, okay, whatever. You'll have the spider guy. And then, of course, you have my favorite cave of all, Glutton's Kitchen, where you will find the bread bugs. They are literally Bulborbs, but they are made of a loaf of bread, and you cannot kill them by attacking them. They won't even try and attack your Pikmin, but they will try and take objects. They'll take deceased enemies, treasures, and try and bring them back to their base. But you can play a game of tug of war with them, right? As they're carrying these items by attaching your Pikmin to them. And they will kind of, if your Pikmin have more strength, if there's more Pikmin than the amount of strength that they have, then you will pull the thing back to your thing, and they will, they'll keep holding on, and then when you get to the end, they'll be sucked up and then get a little bonk on the head, depleting some of their health. There's an entire boss fight where, like, the end of the cave is literally just, there's a bunch of enemies lying around, you kill the enemies, and then the bread bugs will try and drag them back, but you want to drag them back before, because, you know, there's a hidden treasure within the boss bread bug. It's such a fun dungeon, I really, really love it. Yeah, actually, that's another thing I should mention. The bosses each drop these treasures that don't just get you money back to your goal, but they also give you special abilities. For example, the first cave you'll find in the game unlocks the treasure radar, which is extremely, extremely useful. The first time I played through that, also on the Wii, I did not know about the treasure radar. I didn't really fight a lot of the bosses because I wasn't that good at the game. On subsequent playthroughs, I did know. Thank goodness I did. But yeah, stuff like that, you know, you'll get new areas in the world unlocked, you'll unlock more vitality, you unlock the ability to plop yourself on the ground and have your Pikmin carry you back to the onion because you're just feeling that lazy today. It's incredible. But yeah, you know what? Now that I'm on the topic, treasures. So the main collectible in this game, instead of the ship parts from the previous game, you are collecting these treasures, which are all real world objects, very goofily so. Olimar, for some reason, despite living in a pretty human-looking society, doesn't know what they are. You find a big rubber ducky, he will call it something completely different that makes absolutely no sense, and he will have a description for it in the Piklopedia, which is a sort of enemy and Pikmin treasure viewer in the game that you can see like all sorts of information. You could read these journal notes from each of the two captains. It's amazing. It's absolutely incredible. Ah, yes, but I should probably get into the areas of the game. Just like the first game, they're all very atmospheric. There's about 4 of them to explore this time. Well, there is only 4. There's no smaller first and final area like in Pikmin 1. There are 4 areas. They're all based around the seasons, and they are all, for the most part, phenomenal. The first area you land in the Valley of Repose is a lovely looking winter area. You've never really had this sort of area in a Pikmin game before. Then you have the Awakening Wood, a springtime, you know, very Forest of Hope-like with a more upbeat, military kind of sounding tune. The Perplexing Pool is a bit perplexing because it is the same layout as Distant Spring. It's pretty much the exact same one with a few changes made to it. But lastly, after clearing your debt, you will unlock the Wistful Wild, which is this very, very fall autumn area. It's amazing. I love it. It's probably my favorite area in the game. There's so much going on in it. It's incredible. Actually, you know what? I lied a little bit. So much going on isn't really how I would describe the areas in Pikmin 2. You see, the thing is, in Pikmin 1, all the ship parts were found within the areas, but now in 2, a lot of the treasures are found within the caves. I don't think you can get your debt paid off in this game by just going above ground. You're gonna have to do some cave diving, and that leads to a lot of above ground areas kind of not feeling that important. You're kind of just looking for caves a lot of the time. There are quite a few treasures still, you know, found above ground, and there's some puzzles to get to them, of course, but I don't know, for the most part, not as much happening here, which, you know, does kind of stink a bit, but it's fine. The areas are still there, and you're still going to spend days exploring them, trying to figure out what to do. Because yes, the day system is back from Pikmin 1, but there is no limit this time. You have oxygen supplies. It wasn't a crash landing. You went there. Maybe you got separated at first, but everything's fine. You have an infinite amount of time to explore the planet and get the treasures that you pay off your debt and get what you need. There's some twists and turns along the way after you've paid off your debt leading up to the credits. But I think, personally, I think this is fine. Some people I've seen complain about the lack of a day limit, but honestly, like, you still have the day structure. And yes, in the caves, the time limit for days is gone, but really, it doesn't really matter down there. Those areas are supposed to be longer dungeons anyway, so being able to take your time is perfectly fine. And I actually saw this point made very elegantly in a recent video from somebody else. In Pikmin, you have an infinite amount of Pikmin essentially, but a limited amount of time. But in the caves, you cannot grow more Pikmin, only sacrifice the Pikmin you already have for purples and whites. Therefore, in the caves, unlike the overworld, you have a limited amount of Pikmin, not a limited amount of time. There's still a crushing limit there, and it adds to the challenge. You know, it's a different kind of game, and the caves can be very daunting, especially later in the game. So, totally works for me. The game is still very much, I still want to get the game done as quickly as possible, right? You know, it's not like, oh, I can just take my time. I feel like I don't need to do anything. No, I still am playing the game as normal, all right? Just because I don't have this immediate ticking time bomb, that doesn't ruin the game for me. Honestly, it's like saying that, oh, platformers aren't worth it if you don't have lives, you know? Like, well, what do you mean? Most platformers nowadays don't give you lives, so really, you know, that's how it goes. That's how it is for me. I don't mind it whatsoever. There are quite a few extra things I didn't mention yet, though, that are new to Pikmin 2. Now, Pikmin 1 did have a challenge mode of sorts, where you would be given one day, basically, to play each area and see how many Pikmin you could grow within that day. But Pikmin 2 introduces a completely different challenge mission mode, where there are several missions that you and a friend can play through together and try to clear as quickly as possible. You get these after you beat one of the bosses in one of the caves. This is a pretty fun mission side mode. I've played quite a few of them, and honestly, I enjoy it a decent amount, but the real star of the show, the battle mode. From here on out, each Pikmin game has a 2-player battle mode, and oh man, the one in Pikmin 2 is utter war. You were given a set of cave-looking stages to play through and battle against your friends in, and oh man, it is so much fun. The goal of the game is basically collect 4 marbles first, or collect your team's home marble, and the strategy in there is so fun. You know, you don't have multiple Pikmin types to pick from. It's just red Pikmin for both teams. But honestly, not really much of an issue for me. I don't mind it much at all, if I'm being real. I think it's a different kind of game, you know, having to manage all of those Pikmin as such. It would be kind of a bit annoying, especially considering all the extra things they pour on top. First of all, the areas are very confined and cramped. There's these cherries that'll give you different power-ups, like maybe they'll give you more Pikmin, or your Pikmin will be invisible to the other player. So, you know, perfectly fine by me. But yeah, no, tons of fun in the side game and tons of fun in the main game. I really like Pikmin 2. I think at this point, I have not played 4 yet. It is my favorite game in the series. I highly recommend it, whether it's on GameCube, although you'll be paying a pretty penny for that. Also on Wii, you'll probably be paying a lot for that. Or, of course, now on the recently released Switch bundle of Pikmin 1 and 2. Highly recommend this game. Hey gamers, it's G from the corner, and welcome back to the third and final review for Pikmin Week. Today we are going to be looking at the most recent mainline entry in the Pikmin series at the time of this recording, Pikmin 3. The game was released on the Wii U in 2013, about 9 years after Pikmin 2 came out. There was a bit of build-up and anticipation. It was going to be out on Wii, it was going to be out soon, but no, that didn't quite happen. It took quite a bit to come out, and honestly, I would say, wow, that was a big deal, but same thing basically happened with Pikmin 4, where nearly, 2 years after the third game came out, Miyamoto was already talking about how the game was done, and lo and behold, it took 10 years after Pikmin 3 came out to finally see the light of day. But I'm not talking about Pikmin 4 today. Today we're talking about Pikmin 3, available on both the Wii U and Nintendo Switch. Of course, I've been playing the deluxe version for this review, and yeah, I think we should just get right into things, honestly. So Pikmin 3 kicks off amidst a new cast and a new crisis. There is apparently a famine going on, a food shortage, in the planet Kopai, which is different from the previous planet we've been looking at, Hockatate, from the previous 2 games. 3 explorers, Alf, Brittany, and Charlie from the planet have been sent to the planet of the Pikmin to retrieve some food for their planet, but alas, they crash land and are separated. So, as I mentioned, there are 3 captains in this game now, Alf, Brittany, and Charlie, all new characters, and there is so much more strategy to their movement this time around. Instead of in previous games where you only had 1 captain or 2 captains who would just kind of be sitting around waiting, you can now order commands for each of the captains to do. You could have Charlie over and by the onions, plucking all the Pikmin out. You could have Brittany taking all the Pikmin over to some spot where a fruit or some puzzle is, while you're playing as Alf, running around exploring the area trying to find fruit. It is amazing. The level of strategy present in Pikmin 3 is incredible. I'm not the biggest strategy guy in the world, obviously, but, I can obviously respect how amazing this level of just planning you're allowed to do is. Honestly, it is phenomenal, really. But yeah, no, alongside these new characters, we also have some new Pikmin. The purple and whites are no longer present in the main campaign, only present in the side content, which I will get into much later. But this time around, we are given the winged and rock Pikmin. The rock Pikmin they're strong like the purples, but they don't latch on to enemies, but they can break glass and crystal objects, which is it comes in handy. There's glass barriers that need to be broken by them, and, crystal rocks come on quite often, so I think they are a pretty useful addition to the game. They also cannot be crushed, so definitely going against some enemies shooting boulders out of their nostrils with them. And then there are the winged Pikmin, which, once again, are kind of supplementary. They have a very light attack stat, and they are a bit of a pain to control in some occasions, but they are able to carry things over objects. So let's say you want to get a fruit back to your ship, you can just chuck them at it and not have to worry about creating a path for them. They can just fly over everything, even water, which once again, only the blue Pikmin can access. Kind of making them a little bit useless in this game, but there are still quite a few treasures that are just found underwater. It's not treasures, fruit that are still found underwater. So it's fine. The winged Pikmin aren't honestly my favorites to use because of their weak nature and because they can be a bit finicky with trying to attack ground enemies, but you know what? They serve their purpose very well, especially during some boss fights, because yes, now, that's the thing. Caves are gone. Caves are once again gone, but in exchange, the areas are much bigger than they ever have been before. There's multiple different, nooks and crannies and caverns that you will explore as you're going through these areas. And each area kind of has a central boss where you will kind of stumble upon an area and be like, hey, this is a boss arena. Let me fight the boss here, right? And there's I guess 4, technically 5, because there is still, once again, a final 5th area in the game, but, it's more so it literally is just an area to fight the final boss. Really, there is nothing else to it. Another thing that has obviously changed about Pikmin 3 is that you are no longer collecting treasures like you were in Pikmin 2. As I've mentioned a few times now, there are now fruits to collect. So here's the thing. There is a new day limit placed again. It's not a strict 30-day time limit, and it's not a no day limit like in Pikmin 2, but instead, as you collect fruit, you are given a supply. So while it can feel more intense than ever before, it is very easy to rack up enough fruit to be a good 10 or so days out from dying every so often, really. Honestly, it seems very daunting, and it creates this good artificial stress where it's like, oh no, I have to do well, otherwise like I am going to lose the game and I'm going to, my planning better be on point for this this playthrough. But really, it's not that hard. It's very easy to make sure you are stocked up on enough fruit. There's different types of fruit. I don't think there's any sort of comments in a Piclopedia about each type of fruit, but they all look very nice. That's another thing, actually. The game, obviously going from GameCube and Wii graphics to Wii U and Switch graphics, the game looks incredible. They try and go for a super, super photorealistic style, and everything looks all slimy and textury. There's so much to it, honestly. I'm shocked how good the game looks, really. I mean, seriously, I am shocked how good the game looks. I play the game and I'm like, wow, this is extremely pretty for a game that came out 10 years ago now. I can't believe we're at the point where looking back that far yields pretty great results, especially from Nintendo. They were really trying to show off the power of the Wii U back then, of course, when it was, you know, it was already going to be undercut in like a few months by the PS4 and Xbox One. Very, very good to see how good the game just looks nice. It looks very nice and clean. The music is great too. You know, it's your usual Pikmin fare, very atmospheric stuff. I can't really compare it to I mean, like, it's, you know, the sound quality, the sound effects, the MIDIs are very much higher than they were in previous games. I'm not sure if there's any real instruments being used or not, but it is very, very good stuff regardless. And the length of the game. Good mid-ground between Pikmin 1 and 2. It's not as short as Pikmin 1, but Pikmin 2 you could have easily spent like 20 hours in if you wanted to. And I mean, granted, that it's fun having a longer Pikmin game, but Pikmin 3 I think has enough side content to really make up for it. And yeah, I guess I should get into that, the side content. So first up we have mission mode, basically kind of the same as challenge mode, except instead of going for like doing a specific challenge, you are trying to kind of just see how much you can collect or how many enemies you can defeat in an area in a certain amount of time. It's a fun mode. I like it. You know, it's not the best in the world. Sometimes it changes how many Pikmin and what kind of Pikmin you have depending on the stage. All the stages, well, most of the stages anyway, are not ripped from the story mode. They're all brand new. There's one that is straight up a recreation of the Forest Navel. There's this amazing Christmas-themed area where you're running across a table at Christmas time, and there's gifts and food everywhere. It's amazing. I love it. There's one that's like a 2D side-scrolling kind of deal, which is very odd. It's a very experimental mission mode, and I kind of like it. And of course, this is where the whites and purples come back. And yeah, they're the whites and purples. They play just as they always did. I think there might be a few changes diehards will know about that I might have missed. Overall, pretty alright mission mode, but where the game really shines, once again, Bingo Battle. I don't think it's as good as Pikmin 2's battle mode, but it is still very, very fun. This time, instead of just trying to collect marbles, you were each given a bingo card of objects and enemies, and essentially what you want to do is you want to get a line. You want to get a bingo on the card. So, okay, let me collect this enemy and this enemy and this enemy. Once again, you also still have the cherries, which will drop different power-ups, different effects, different other things that'll hinder the other team or improve your team's standings. Maybe it'll take away a marker on the other team and they'll have to collect the object again or something. There's a bunch of different ones. Honestly, super fun battle mode, and there's a bunch of stages as well. A bunch of great stages. I enjoy it. I enjoy both battle modes quite a bit, honestly. It's pretty neck and neck, depending on which one I like more. Really, it depends on the mood of the party I'm with. But yeah, all great stuff. However, new to the Switch version of the game are the side stories. So later in the plot, you find out Olimar is involved. He crash landed a while ago, and such happened. But you will get to play as Olimar before and after the events of Pikmin 3 in these side stories. And I mean, it's kind of just more mission mode, honestly. It's more remixed regular game stages with new music, and you get to play as Olimar and Louie. You can play it entirely in co-op, and you can also play the entire main game in co-op. I kind of forgot to mention that. That is a super, super cool feature they added in the Switch version. I have not really taken advantage of it, but it's super cool that it's there. The side stories, it's just extra content. There's nothing really harmful about any of it. It's not amazing, but you know, it's not terrible either. But yeah, Pikmin 3. I, once again, highly recommend this one. It's not available, obviously, in the Pikmin 1 and 2 bundle, but it is on Switch as Pikmin 3 Deluxe. It is a very, very good game, very much worth it, just like the other two. Maybe I'd recommend, if you're just starting out with Pikmin, not sure if I'd recommend this over the first two. I mean, the first two are right there, and they are budget price. So, you know, maybe you want to try those, or maybe you want to wait for Pikmin 4. Definitely not Hey Pikmin. I don't think that's where you're going to get your start. Maybe you're a mobile gamer. Maybe you're playing Pikmin Bloom. Okay, the point is, Pikmin 3, great game. Highly, highly recommended. But yeah, that's going to do it for today's video. Stay tuned for more Pikmin Week content. We aren't done just yet. We got a few more videos coming out for you guys. and I hope you all keep yourselves cornered. Like and subscribe. I'll see you guys on the next one. Later.